especially in a Pakatan state, Selangor. Do you think Selangor has been able to keep its promises that it made in the last election?
I believe that by and large, if you're looking at the teams, the underlying goals that we wanted to achieve in the last administration, in the last elections, we have well exceeded it beyond even our own expectations, whether in Selangor or in Penang. And it is very simple that at that point in time in 2008, if you are to say to me that we can afford to provide 650 million ringgit of free water to the people of Selangor over the 5 years, I would say forget it. That's not possible. You will bankrupt the state. No, the state was running on a 1.1 billion budget. It was running on a deficit, which means that there wasn't enough money to sustain 1.1 billion. And yet today we are running on 1.6 billion with record surpluses of 180 million. And that is despite giving out so many welfare benefits to the people in need throughout the state of Selangor.
So is it because back in 2008, expectations are pretty low because it came as a surprise?
That's right. I mean, expectations are pretty low because we didn't expect the amount of rubbish that was actually in there, that once you cleaned up, things can actually improve so much. So we underestimated the amount of crap that was in the government at that point in time.
Now, going to one of the promises, though, the free water that you just mentioned, the Selangor water crisis, that's a whole long issue, but it's, of course, as you mentioned in your book, privatization gone wrong.
Right.
But do you think that's affected Pakatan's chances this time around? Because, the residents who had to carry their pails and go to their friends' houses to shower, I don't think they're too happy. I know quite a few.
I completely agree with you. You came from Ampang, and in Ampang there was a water crisis at one point in time. And all I can say is that that is the exact outcome of privatization of water in Malaysia. The reason is that the service providers are not responsible for the quality of service of providing water in the state because they are not punished. They are not subjected to any punishment despite the fact that they have failed to provide water to the residents in Selangor. Now, if it is under the state government, then of course, if they failed to provide adequate water to the residents, then Selangor state government can be held accountable in an election or in any form of democratic space and practice and stuff. And what has happened essentially is that under a privatized environment, the water company is only interested in making profits.
No, but many residents, this is just sentiment on the ground that I felt, is that they were not necessarily aware of this, right?
I completely agree.
So to them, they still blame the government.
That is why we have to double up the efforts, and that's why the state have often organized repeated water talks all around the state, and it doesn't reach everyone, and that's our challenge. That is completely our challenge, that if we are unable to refute the arguments that was put forth by the other side that all the blame is on the state government, then we are in trouble for the state general elections. And hence we had to put in a lot of effort in disseminating information, providing leaflets, making people understand the complex privatization process of the water industry in Malaysia, letting them understand why is it the state now wants to buy back the water concession, letting them understand that the concessionaire wanted to raise prices by 37% and so on. So those are the things that we have to explain to the people, and we cannot be certain that all of them have gotten the message. And that's our challenge.
But looking forward, I mean, it's an ongoing issue. What's the immediate next step?
The immediate next step for us really is to win Putrajaya.
Is that the only solution?
That appears to be the only best solution for now.
So if you don't, then Selangor residents can expect to have prolonged water problems?
Selangor, I think both sides are looking at what happens during the general elections before taking on the next step. So everyone's playing the wait-and-see game. We have made the additional offer. Sabah is refusing to say yes or no to the offer. They are also waiting to see if Pakatan wins or the Barisan Nasional wins. If Pakatan wins, maybe they will take up the offer. If Barisan Nasional wins, maybe they won't and negotiate for higher prices. It's anyone's guess.
Okay, but now let's go to a question from a viewer, one of our Facebook fans, who has a question for you. Right. And now Nanda Balan asks, crime rate in PJ is very high. I would like to know how YB20 will tackle this issue. So could you give him a very brief answer?
The very brief answer is that we don't have enough police patrolling our streets as at this point in time. the structure of our police force is such that only 8 or 9% of the police force is in charge of fighting crime. And you have got 8 or 9% of the police force protecting people like myself or spying on people like us. And there's a huge imbalance in the allocation of resources within the police force. 40% of the force is on administration, management and logistics. Another 30% is on FRUs, light strike force, and your general special forces. So there's a huge misallocation of resources within the police force, and if you structure it such that more resources are actually placed to fight crime, I'm very certain crime can actually be reduced significantly.
So is that what YB20 will do?
That's what YB20 would do if we win power in Putrajaya.
But okay, you've said that twice now. If you don't take federal power though, aren't there ways that Selangor state government can try to implement these, even though yes, it's under the federal list, but are there creative ways you can get around that?
Yes, we tried. The Selangor state government have actually offered to fund 10,000 auxiliary police in Selangor to be placed under the charge of the Selangor police force. So we fund it. And because we don't want to be a, what's the word for it? Extra military or that means the out of the system vigilantes and stuff, we place it under the police force for them to manage these people to help fight crime. And we pay for it. We pay for it. It was rejected by the Inspector General of Police. They rejected it. What else can we do? We have offered to hire people, park under you, to help protect our people, and they have refused. So the only thing we did was the budget saved from that force was allocated to the local councils to be distributed to each of these residents associations and rukun tetanggas for them to then equip themselves to fight crime.
Take crime into their own hands.
Which is a bit sad. So you equip them with torchlights, with the safety vests, with
bamboo sticks?
batons and little stuff like that to help protect themselves, which is very sad because the responsibility for security is with the police.